Hi, this is Julie. Welcome to this lesson. When we first wanted to decide what to do with this, I wanted to do something with Nicholas since he will be moving soon from Arizona, and what we came up with was a few drills that we think will help your lead and follow. They really helped us when we were trying to improve, and I think they will be a good challenge. So hopefully it will be some food for thought. If you have any follow-up questions or ideas that you want to follow through with once you have a chance to play with them, go ahead and feel free to shoot me an email or shoot me a message on Facebook. We're always happy to hear from you, and look forward to seeing what you will do.
The lead follow drills that we're going to work on all are pretty dependent on your ability to feel level changes as a partnership.
Yeah. So just really quickly, we did a sketch of how to do this drill, and it's a little silly, but I kind of like it. It's maybe just little feet. Yeah, it's a little. So leaders, what you're gonna do is you're gonna ask your partner to sink to the floor, and then you are going to sink to the floor, but not ask your partner to do it.
So leaving your arm frame neutral.
Yes, and then bringing both with you so that you both sink to the floor together.
And then once you're pretty comfortable with that, go to 1 foot. So like your prep foot.
We're using pistol squats in a second.
And once that's comfortable for you, try at different positions.
Okay.
So, play with it. The important part is that you have the balance and control to get to neutral no matter what lead or move that you're doing.
Yes.
So, if you're not able to get your partner to move, try asking questions like, what do you need to feel differently from me to know that you need to move? Or that you need to stay still while they move?
Yeah.
Or maybe ask, if one worked and one didn't, try and figure out what felt different on the one that worked from the one that didn't work.
Yeah, kind of like a scientific troubleshooting together as a partnership. Yeah.
But for this drill, if you're not talking, you'll probably end up getting frustrated.
Yeah.
And if you're saying it's your fault, even if it is, you'll probably still be frustrated. So, and most of the time you'll be surprised it's at least half your fault. So, being able to figure out how to fix things without yelling at each other is important for this drill.
Yeah.
So one more time, we're looking for the ability for him to go down without me. And the way that I feel the difference is he hasn't moved this part of me or this part of me. I'm so very connected. If you watch my elbow as he goes down, he's releasing from his shoulder and rotator cuff to leave this in place. And then similarly, if he wants me to go down without him, he's lowering that frame of reference on both sides for me. And if you see on the side, it's a similar thing. He's keeping this frame intact, but moving it without me. So my orientation to him hasn't changed in terms of my frame, but it has in terms of which part of his body I'm connected to.
Yeah. And I assume, since you're in the What a Shag Patreon, that you are not thinking of this as you're actually leading with your arms.
Yeah.
Technically, yes, I would agree this is leading with my arms, but I'm trying to think of it as much as possible as leading her center of gravity up and down, rather than manipulating the external mass up and down.
Yeah, so I don't feel like our relationship has changed at all. It's just that I feel as if he's dipping that entire frame. That should feel the same. So that might be a good litmus test to go down together and see what it feels like when nothing is changing other than your leg position. And then try to make it feel the same, even when you're just moving your arms.
Yeah.
And that's important before you move on to the next drill, or at least as a thinking piece in the next drill with skates. Now you practice level changes.
Yes.
We're going to incorporate that into something which would be an application, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
So, skates.
Skates.
So a key to this would be not to hop, but to focus on just allowing your leg to relax and drop into it. So that's the number one thing.
That'd be so much work hopping around with skates.
I mean, I did it for a while.
Yeah, it's true.
My calves got really buff.
If you want great buff calves, then hop
But
away.
I also had a lot of Achilles heel or Achilles tendon drops. They got short.
Well, all right. Okay. So, okay. So we're doing left, right. Oh,
Left,
freeze,
right.
freeze.
So we're gonna 1, 2, 3, freeze. And again, we want to get to this point where we're super balanced and our frame is intact. I feel connection on the blade in my hand and on my rib cage and along all the side. That when he goes the other way, I'm gonna take it. You'll notice he isn't leaning into it with some sort of weird body roll thing. Once we're neutral, he's dropping that weight the other direction. We're neutral, gotta balance. Moving my weight the other side. We're neutral. I know I can go anywhere. So the next level of the drill would be 4 counts with the freeze, or groups of 4, so maybe 4 or 8 with the freeze, so you're not anticipating the freeze, but keep it to groups of 4.
Yeah.
From there, you can change up the redirect immediately. So note, so you have that freeze moment, but it immediately goes in the reverse direction. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 4. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3,
Oh, I'm not supposed to turn. Sorry.
3, 4. 1, 2. And again, groups of 4, groups of 8, groups of 12. Shake it up so that your lead and follow is genuine and not just an exercise.
Yes, and to really give yourself a litmus test if you are feeling comfortable with the quantity of skates that you're leading. Try 3, 5, and 7.
Yeah.
Because that's weird, kind of.
And the key is that level change redirect.
Yeah.
The weirder your number gets.
7.5 is crazy.
So you'll notice that I don't always catch that level change immediately, but as long as I feel it enough to follow the next step, that's the key. The goal would be always for me to catch those, but if I at least feel them, that gets me onto the correct foot.
Yeah.
And stylistically, I'm not dropping into that. I'm giving a little bit of a shove off, like a brush off with my free leg so I can hit the shape that I want.
I think Julie brings up a really good point because we haven't danced together in 7 months, 8 months, or something like that.
Many months.
Many months. And so, you know, she's got these really great following skills. So my lead is right now, honestly, not all that sharp. So
It's pretty good.
I'm on, but not as sharp as I used to be. So being able to feel that drop, even if my partner misses or I'm not clear enough on that drop, it's still a super clear signal, like something is changing, and they'll be able to catch up on the next one.
And then the harder time I am having feeling that drop, the more I'm gonna engage my back and my palms. So I never wanna squeeze him or come in. That's just uncomfortable for everybody. But if he's giving me a nice pressure outward, like expanding, like you know, like those little sponge animals that you get, they like put water on them and like that's kind of the feeling. Expanding for the lead.
And but it's a little spongy still.
Yeah.
It's not like a hard
It's not
expansion.
like
Yeah.
So just like expanding to get that circular feel. I feel that slight outward expansion here. And then the more that I'm having trouble feeling, I'll just come in just a little bit and I'll use my palm a little harder and the blade of my hand a little harder to try to feel, if I'm not quite getting enough information, try to give myself a little more information.
Yeah.
Or the other half would be to pump a little higher. Because if his torso drops, I'm gonna feel it sooner on his shoulder
Oh, that's a good
than
one.
I will on his arm.
That's a good one, because I could, like as you saw on the drill, I could totally,
Yeah.
like,
And
just-
a lot of times that's what's happening.
Oh, is it?
No, not with you particularly.
Oh.
Like if you and your partner can't connect.
Yes, okay, yeah, I see what you're saying. So what Julie's saying because it went kind of quickly, is that leaders might be going like this, like they're dropping themselves and leaving their frame where it is, rather than bringing their frame with them, like that first drill that we showed.
But whether or not they're leading it right, if I've got a hand on his shoulder, I'm gonna feel it. Like I'm gonna feel where his body's going.
I like that. That's pretty
And
cool.
so, you know, little life hack.
Okay.
So play with back and forth, play with freezing on the drops so that you know your partnership is continuous, and then from there, change up the numbers and try and go not just on even, also with odds. So now that you you've at least got the basic idea, like you're coming down together, you're changing direction together, you can add more layers in circular momentum. So you have direction changes, but also momentum direction. So that adds a whole other layer.
It does.
And the connection is going to become more and more important.
Yeah. So we'll start on the left foot, going to the right, and we're not gonna change feet yet. We're just gonna freeze, right?
Yeah, but left foot, right foot.
All right.
So similarly, I'm just going to rotate us a little bit. So similarly to the other drill, you want to first start by freezing down together to that neutral position, because from here we could do literally anything, which is why it's awesome. So any part of the direction, momentum change, coming down to neutral allows that to happen quickly and efficiently.
Yep.
So that would be the first part of the drill.
And do it on your right, going to the right. Do it on your left, going to the left. Do it on your right, going to the left.
Yeah, so go all of the 4 directions.
Yeah,
So
with the freeze.
Demonstrate really quickly. So leader on the right, going backwards. Leader on the right, going forward. Leader on the left, going backwards. Leader on the left, going forward.
That's all of them.
Hello.
That's all of them.
And then once you get comfortable with that, you can again do things besides groups of 4.
Yeah, or 6.
However many.
Or 8. Yeah.
And then from there, we added the drifties.
Do you want to do a circle with the transition first?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we got.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you'll notice that was all going the same direction.
Yep.
So switching feet by continuing the direction.
Yep.
You can do that on your left for leads, on your right for leads.
Yes.
So switching feet, same direction.
And then the drifty one?
And then just do switching feet, going the
Oh,
other
okay. Well, all right.
direction.
She's gonna make me do it. She's gonna make me do it. Okay.
And then this is the part where your connection becomes extremely important, follows.
Yes.
The more aggressive the energy, the more rounded out you want to be, and the more I'm going to slip from here to here. So this, I will often slip, if you watch any videos where I'm competitively dancing, I'll often slip to here if I need more control. Not because my leader's doing anything wrong, but because of how much force. I'm a very tiny human. It's easy to fling me off the ground and let my feet get way behind me. So I either have to work out a ton to keep my core muscles strong enough to tuck against all that force, and I use this to hold me in so that I don't end up behind myself.
Yeah.
So if he's leading pretty chill tempo-wise, I'm probably somewhere in here. The more aggressive it gets, the more I'm gonna slip to here, and the more I'm gonna use this kind of like I'm in an aerial. You could do a frog jump, where I'm like posting off of this a little. Again, I'm not pushing on it, I'm just giving my body support.
I didn't do that frog jump right. I wrapped around.
Yeah.
No, let's do it again. That's better. Okay.
So that palm connection for follows and leads, you can use it to your advantage as well. You know, palming here, and then tucking, and then connecting. So you can play with those spins, going faster,
Yeah.
going slower,
Yeah.
changing direction, changing feet.
Yeah.
All of those things. Play with them, control them. They'll all be useful at some point in your life. Especially if you dance socially
Yeah.
and have different body sizes of leads and follows. Sometimes you're gonna have to feed that momentum a lot because your partner is stuck to the ground. Sometimes you're gonna have to slow it down because people like me are like, faster! You're like, slow down!
Yeah. So sometimes, yeah, sometimes.
So you gotta be able to speed it up and slow it down so you can find the happy space.
Right. We're going circular, or should we do the drifting one?
Drifting.
Okay. So 3, 4, 5, 6. This is just to change directions.
But stay on the same foot.
Stay on the same foot.
So to do that, you gotta like slow it down.
Yeah.
And ramp it up.
Yeah.
Sort of like if you're shifting gears on the car, you can't go straight from drive
Yeah.
to reverse. Got to bring it to neutral.
I like I like that drill to kind of build a little bit of my control in terms of the rotational directional changes. It's not something I often would train, but after, well, not after 8 months of COVID, but after, you know, doing a few of those drills previously, it really helped a lot with that transitions for me.
And it sets up a totally different moveset. And if you dance like Austin style shag, that's more how those direction changes would happen anyway. So depending on who you're dancing with and space style or the decision making that you're doing at that moment, this may actually be the better connection to use.
Yeah, cool. This is Evo's skate pattern that Julie showed me, and I kind of saw on YouTube a little bit.
Yeah, he whipped this out in a mix and match. I was like, ooh.
Yeah. So I'm gonna do my best, but if you really want to do it like him, you should probably.
BCN 2018 maybe?
Yeah, check out the video.
Anyways, the point of this drill is that once you have all that comfort with leading and following skates, you should probably do something with it besides just doing skates.
Right.
It's kind of boring.
So
Beautifully done skates are cool, but at some point, evolve.
Yeah. Evolve. Evolve. Okay, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This is the one thing that's very different about one of the multiple things that's very different is being able to have that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, that weight change on 8.
Let's get an angle where you can see. Oh, so we're wearing dark pants. Note for future.
Okay. What angle do you want?
Oh, that was it. I didn't realize this because our pants were dark.
Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah. So the leaders, you're going to give just a slight shift to the right while also dropping instead of leaving your weight on your left.
And my left.
Okay. Ahead of this, we're going to add a turn. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Let's do it from a couple different sides.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Again, I'm looping. I'm making a nice shape on that turn. I can even point my toe if I want. But once I'm coming through here, I'm going to create that pocket for my leg to sit into.
And then you rotate in the rotation. So leaders, you start rotating this direction and you lead the turn. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You cut in 7, 8. 7, 8.
You can also like get it going for 8, turn for
Yes.
8. Like a lot of times it's easier if you're already going for a little while because then all you have to do is release.
Okay, well let's tack on
a beginner
a beginner eight. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 2, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8.
And a very important element of this, once you have that figured out, or maybe in order to figure that out, is we're skating along orientation-wise, but then he's gonna cut in to connect on that 8 redirect. So if he keeps going in a circle, if you do that without that cutting through, if he keeps going, we're gonna end up like super far apart.
Yeah, I'm gonna end up kind of chasing, here, let's do it so the camera can see us in camera. So we've got
So if he stays like way back there.
like I'm trying to catch her here.
Yeah.
Instead, thinking 7 catch.
Yeah. So if you stay really far out, because at some point, don't move. If he stays like kind of really far out here, which unless I'm giving him a lot of connection here, and even if I am, is likely to be the case the first few times you try this, he needs to like scoot around, yes, but also scoot in the direction of my connection on this side. So like you were doing already, he's skating towards that arm, which slots him into my body. So, you know, cutting that corner is staying away.
Okay. She's speaking my language now. Okay.
So now we end up close enough together for me to feel the down.
Yeah.
Whereas if you don't come in and you stay away, we're gonna end up too far apart to make that clear.
Okay.
So probably the first few times you try it, you're gonna end up far away like that because it's a lot of moving pieces for the lead. But as you get more and more comfortable, that reconnect is going to be more successful if the lead can kind of cut that corner and seek that side.
Yeah. And then lastly, if you're prepping this for like a mix and match or a competition.
Yeah, where you don't know the partner, potentially.
Oh, I was gonna say well, even if you don't know your angles, right?
Yeah.
So I haven't done this yet, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 2, 5, 6, 7, 8. My back is now to the judges. I'd want to maybe end here. Here's okay.
Just know where you want to
Sheet
catch
out.
them so
Yeah.
that looks good from the front.
Yeah, something to consider.
Yeah.
How much angle you want to put on it.
And you can play with all sorts of things, like just try and figure out, once I'm here, what can we do? We could probably barrel, I mean, we haven't tried this, but I'm just throwing ideas. We could probably barrel turn. I know I've been let in free spins outside or pop turns from skates back into skates. And you don't have to actually recatch to neutral. You can actually continue, or from neutral, you don't have to go back into basics. You can loop your skates as well.
So like
like-
8 Evo, 8 Evo, and then barrel roll?
Yeah.
With
Or
a-
like even if you do the move that Evo does, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now okay, 8, but then continue to skate.
Yeah,
so you
something
can
like
continue
that.
a little bit. So
It's
once
great.
you can reconnect, I would say try playing with stuff like free spins or barrel turns or whatever else you can do to get out of skates, but then back into skates.
Yeah. The quicks and slows. Slows and quicks.
So we're moving on to a completely different topic of drills.
Something completely different.
This would be focusing on the leading and follow of basic and the elements that make up basics. This is something that isn't particularly focused on in the social scene as far as I felt, but maybe. But I only feel this from a handful of leaders, and I only feel this from a handful of follows when I'm trying to lead. From the follows, it's probably just because I'm not leading it very well. But
Maybe.
But it doesn't feel like, it feels like a foreign concept on their body when I try to communicate. So this would probably go a long way in helping your partnership in every move that you lead and follow if you can kind of make that calibration a little more sensitive. And this is something Nicholas really worked on me with. This is something I didn't really learn at all until I started working with Nicholas.
Which is funny because I learned from you in the very first shag class I took.
Yeah. But like the true lead and follow of it,
Okay,
as opposed
okay,
to like
okay.
the idea of it.
Okay, yeah.
I didn't feel like I could follow without warning
Yeah, okay.
anybody in any circumstance to know what foot to be on. I feel like it was also partially from Balboa
Okay. Yeah.
and my work in Balboa, because there's a lot of very sensitive movements in Balboa, and it matters what foot you're on. So it was a combination of all those things.
Blinkers?
Blinkers.
Will you explain?
Sure. So an easy way to kind of drill this out before you are more sensitive as a partnership or an individual would be to use fingers as blinkers, because it helps your body find that flow as opposed to like this sort of waddling, which was something I seriously struggled with when first trying to figure this. Like I was dropping my weight and I was like taking my body that way, so it was like Charlie Brown. It was it's kind of a hot mess.
Yeah, I saw my first shag class video like a few weeks ago.
It's like, is this country dancing?
Yeah.
So part of getting that full body integration where it's more smooth and comfortable would be using this blinker system.
Yeah. So the pattern we're going to do is 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3.
Okay.
2, 3, 1, 2. Yeah, 3.
I'm just gonna follow it.
Okay. All right. So. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. I gently rotated that just so you can see different angles, not required.
A couple of quick notes. When I'm following this, I will get less hunkered down and less big. So especially in the first few moments of our dance, I'll pull myself pretty neutral. My shuffle size will be more Balboa-esque, or I'll switch to back taps, or something where I'm very neutral and can be easily moved from foot to foot.
Yeah, so there's definitely some style things that turn into like very substantial technical differences between leading this kind of easy change, I guess, where I wouldn't do certain leg shapes or certain styling because it's really hard.
Or at least not till down the road in your journey when this is already a comfortable form of communication.
Yeah.
So like you will see me hunker down with like, especially if he's
Wait.
Okay.
hold on.
You will see me hunker down if I am comfortable enough with the lead to know I can catch the information.
Okay.
But even
Oh wait, I got it. There we go. Woo! I feel the rust coming off.
But for that to be successful, I have to really pull down on my frame, and I have to be more level change conscious from my lead. So it's a whole other set of issues. I would encourage you to not bring that set of complications when you first start working on this.
Yeah.
So go for a more upright, more balanced. If you look from behind, you'll see everything's right under.
Let's do the back tap.
Okay?
Let's do back tap.
Pretty chill and focus on which foot you need to be over, not so much whatever's happening stylistically.
Yeah. I'm sure you're familiar with single, double, and triple shag.
So single would be 1 slow, double 2 slows, triple 3 slows. And those are all fairly common.
Yeah. This is sextuple shag?
It's whatever you want
It's
to call it.
it's whatever you want to call
It's
it.
a bunch of slows and quicks put together in a specific order.
So this we use this as a drill. Actually, we came up with this drill for this class particularly. Generally, what I would do when we were practicing is we would just put on a song and just do quicks and slows and try to make it musical.
Yeah, it's the only way I can lead, to be honest.
Yeah,
because I'm a tiny human. And my lead is only this good, so I have to like play around with musicality here rather than like here.
Yeah. Yeah. Can we demo that?
Yeah.
Okay, sweet. We'll do a video of that, but we'll stop it here and then we'll show you the open version. All right, just using slows and quicks, basics.
Some different combinations, and we're gonna exaggerate a little bit.
Does that count? Am I allowed to do that? Those are still basics, right?
Stylized.
Sometimes I can't help myself.
You can incorporate the down phrases to see if you're still connected vertically. So something I would point out that I'm looking for to feel where he needs me.
I gotta tie my shoe, hold on.
Yeah. So that's why we've mentioned the blinker drill, because you'll see when I'm doing slow, my fingers are going twice in this direction. It's not like I'm here, stop, So there is a sense of like shifting. Even if my feet are fairly stuck down, my torso is at least shifting, catching up. And then he can either lead the quick quicks by just basically leaving me in place, so I can feel him going up and down just through his feet, or he can physically lead those, which usually involves a little bit of a level change.
Yeah.
So why don't you lead a couple of leaving me in place quick quicks,
Okay.
mix them in,
Okay.
and then lead a few where you're like more actively
Okay.
leading the quick quicks.
Okay. Can I do some music?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
So try and see if you can spot when he's just leaving me in place, so I do the quick quicks, or he's actively leading them.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
So another, like, I would encourage you to move solo and partner
Yeah.
together, like to explore those movements together.
Yeah.
So if you have access to a mirror, like, see, you can agree on a pattern, and then like these quick quicks should either look like passing a basketball, like if you do dribble drills, ba-doom, ba-doom, like that kind of gentle side by side, or it should be pretty neutral. Because as a follow, I tend to just quick unless I feel a clear indicator to do something else.
That's an interesting. I didn't know you did that.
Yeah. It allows me not to be super behind if something surprising is led.
Or if I lead something poorly, she's always there to able to catch up.
Surprising.
So one last note. Sometimes people will do a drill and they'll get really like, I have to do the drill. I have attention issues while doing drills. Like, I will be able to focus for maybe 30 seconds and then I've got to do something else for like 5, but come back to it. Like,
Yeah.
if you make that honest effort to, speaking is just like a personal thing.
No, I
personal
think that's a
issue.
good point.
Yeah.
And you can also like pick one specific thing to do. If that feels overwhelming to try that many things, you could always, we've done this many times, like we're gonna lead all of the moves that we know, but just in single shag in a dance. So like only single shag, but with moves we already know. Or we're gonna do just regular 6 count, except for just the quick quicks. So he's gonna sometimes put more than 2 quick quicks in our 6 count pattern, and sometimes just the 2. So like, if it's overwhelming to think of all the different pieces, then just bring it back to one little piece and try playing with the lead and follow that one little piece.
Yes.
Can you just like quickly demonstrate like a 6 count, but then just putting in quick quicks?
Yeah. So we established we're gonna do 6 count, except for sometimes.
Agreed.
Yeah, we've agreed. Except for sometimes I'm gonna add a few extra quicks.
Yeah, so sometimes you might put 4 quicks or 8 quicks. Who knows
Yes.
how many quicks? But I at least have the security blanket of we're going back to slow after that.
5, 6, 7, 8. Oh,
But the point was there.
the point was there, and it was an honest mistake, so Julie won't be too mad at me for it.
And then, for example, the next thing could be, okay, only 2 quick clicks, but going back to
Yes.
more or fewer slows. And so just, that'll sometimes put you on the wrong foot.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the other important part of these drills is you have to deprogram your brain from thinking that there is a wrong foot in shag. Because if it's led properly, no, there is not a wrong foot in shag as long as it's on purpose.
Right.
So get used to being on the wrong foot because that's going to increase your vocabulary, especially as a follow. If someone's thinking something super fancy and you're like, well, that's not the foot I'm supposed to be on, so you fix it, then they can't lead the move that they wanted.
Yeah. There's there's my very first, well, not my very first, but one of my shag things. I don't remember her name, but I tried to lead this, and she was like, "What the heck are you doing?"
So she's like, keep leading it.
Okay.
correct. I'm gonna fix it.
Yeah, and it was, I should have known better. I absolutely should have known better, but yeah, so that was my mistake. I should have just done it.
Too fancy.
I was like, I'm gonna come out here in, well, I don't even know if it was like
Some contest.
Some contest, I don't even know what it was, but yeah.
So the point is, being on the wrong foot is sometimes the correct foot for the move that's being led. So as a leader and as a follower, these drills will also help you get used to leading and following the wrong side or the wrong foot,
Yep.
which is often needed for more advanced move sets.
Yeah.
So play with that, limit it if you need to.
Yeah, limit yourself more than we've limited. We were just supposed to do the dancing devil, but I think that's fine.
Yeah.
We'll watch the whole thing, right?
I think that's the biggest thing I found out
Yeah.
when we were first trying to lead and follow this stuff, is if we tried to lead and follow all the variables, it was overwhelming
Yeah.
and confusing.
Yeah.
If we limit it to one variable each time we practiced, and then at the end say do one song where you can do anything, just not being stressed about it working, but just trying stuff, then that gives yourself like the mental permission to make more mistakes and not get frustrated.
Mhm.
Because this will absolutely take probably months of calibration. And so like every mistake that you make, try and figure out why it didn't work, so the next time that you do it, you can not do that, but do something else and see if that works.
Yeah. Cool. Here we go. So this drill is singles and doubles in open, and we got this from Philip and Cherry. What's up, you guys? Are you watching this? You guys are awesome.
It's the same concept, but it involves a totally different set of technique. So it's a way to layer onto your work already done,
Yeah.
but also develop a totally new skill set that will aid you in other moves.
So this is what it looks like. Sorry, I objected to this. So, how do we follow this?
This one will take you time, so don't expect to get it right immediately. It was a journey for us.
Mhm.
Mostly my fault, he knows tango already. But just be patient with yourself as you work on this. I know it's gonna take time. So the biggest thing I think is that in a lot of shag, we punch into the connection and pull on the ribs. This is a very laggy, very chill follow, which a lot of shag is not. So I'm pulling, no matter what it looks like, I'm not pushing into the connection. I don't know if I can even push into it. Can you try to lead that for a second? Just lead it, I'll
Okay.
follow it. Yeah. So that's what would happen. That's why it wasn't working for us initially.
Yeah.
I was pushing into
so
it.
you mean you're using a slight negative?
Yeah.
And this is some of the language that I use.
So when I'm in there, I'm just continuing to wrap my hip until it redirects me.
Yeah.
As opposed to taking, so I'm pulling away until I can't.
Yeah.
As opposed to pushing forward with the arm that's forward. So I'm following by pulling, and then he steps, pull, step, pull. So the slows feel a lot like a college kick to me in the sense that I'm stepping, and then he's redirecting my hip, boom, stepping, boom.
And there's just the slightest hint of a negative connection there.
Yeah. Can you be a doorknob really quick? Can you
Oh,
be a doorknob with fingers?
Okay.
So like if we're not telling this at all, that's the feeling that I'm getting. You could maybe do this as a drill with your trainer. So I've committed the weight, and now instead of pulling or punching through with this side of my body, I'm just gonna apply enough pressure with my fingers to pull my hips around. Boom, and I'm just gonna pull with my fingers until my hips come around. So that is how I'm following this. Boom, as opposed to kicking over, I'm pulling under. And that is the hard part because it's so opposite to so much else that you will feel in shag. Like if I'm doing college kicks, I'm kicking over most of the time, even though I'm rotating under with my stand-up foot. Sorry, I didn't
No, my foot was up. It's been a long quarantine. Okay, so
So just start by doing slows, seeing if you guys can figure that out. Pull, under, pull, under, pull, under. And then to add quicks, once you find that, I'm still gonna pull under, but because he redirects me faster, my hip just doesn't get as far around and my foot goes down.
Yeah, and so one of the things that I'm thinking as a leader is that I'm almost allowing like a full shift of the hip, one direction and the other. And what I'm doing is I'm almost like, I'm like going like bounce. It's like the blinker exercise where I bounce it. Yeah, like bunny hops. Yeah.
Neutral.
Now there's something I had a lot of trouble with bunny hops. Still do it sometimes. So for the quicks, I kind of hold it up. Like I'm like, nope, we're not going any further. So what? We freeze. Sorry, go ahead. Freeze right here. Like she bounces off of which she's supposed to do, but I don't let the hit continue. I keep it and then we set back into the other side.
Which like bounces me right back.
Yeah.
Which is why I can't take that full step around. So like once you get comfortable with the slows, follows are still gonna try to keep doing that full slow, but when he comes around quicker, I'm just gonna, it stops my hip before I can fully commit to that foot. So it becomes more like a ball change.
Yeah.
Or like an Oompa Loompa.
Yeah.
Just with less exaggeration. So there will be a little bit of a level change to that as well. And then the one thing I would say is super important about the leads is that you're not disassociating your rotator cuff.
Okay.
So he's gonna do it where he's cutting off his line of communication at his rotator cuff, so his arms are gonna move independently of his body, which I can still follow, but feels terrible. And frankly, I cannot follow as well. So if you look at his body, he's not gonna like twist and be crazy.
Yeah.
But he's going to continue that move all the way through his collarbone instead of stopping it here. So I'll still be able to feel your hips. Boom, boom, freeze. See how there's a line here? Boom. Can you disassociate again? With just your rotator. Yeah. Freeze. So like, I'm gonna move you. So he would be moving, like if you were to freeze frame him, you would see how this is more straight and this is up and down as opposed to when he's actually leading it correctly. Boom, freeze. You'll see like there's like this line. If you were to extend his limb, he's creating a line. And that's super, super important.
Okay.
Because that's how you get the violence.
Oh, well, I've never experienced the violence, but let's silence it.
Boom, boom. So again, both of your chests should be moving because your hips are driving the motion. So play with that if you really want to challenge.
An exercise within close, doing fill the chairs and open.
Yeah. Follow. It can look a little hex size, so video yourself.
All right. So the very last thing is so my brain and Julie's brain are very different, and we established this within about 30 seconds of attempting to do our first practice. And so one of the things that has really been important for us is to always approach it with like, not that you're ever trying to prove anyone wrong or be negative in the sense that like trying to get one up. Always remember you're on the same team and you're trying to accomplish the same goal. And it actually doesn't matter who's right or wrong.
I mean, technically it doesn't. In a partnership, you just have to be able to communicate.
Yeah.
So even if he is right and I'm wrong, it doesn't matter unless we find a way for that communication, like our bodies to communicate.
Yes.
Even if it's not the technical response.
Right.
So
Julie will say things in a way that make zero sense to me. And
it's true.
I actually have a hard time processing some of the ways that she strings sentences together. So I will have to go through a series of questions of like, do you mean this? Do you mean this? Do you mean this? And it's sometimes a process of elimination where she's like, no, kind of. And then we'll work through it, sort of a thing. So that's a method that has developed for us. Another is what is not talking.
Just feeling.
And so being like, okay, well, so do you want me to do this, or do you want me to do this? And so then we can kind of figure that out from one way or the other.
Because we use the same words, but we usually mean completely different things.
Yeah.
So we found that we have to define our words.
Yes.
Because we're both assuming we're saying something, and neither of us is saying what we think we're saying in terms of the other person's brain.
What do you mean by that?
So
no,
like,
I'm joking. But yes, establishing our definitions before you can discuss.
yeah. So if it feels like there's a disconnect as a partnership, maybe stop for a second and figure out if the real disconnect isn't the mood, but maybe the words that you're using. So stop and define, like, what do you mean by pulse?
Yeah.
What do you mean by pulse? Like, can you physically show me?
How would you define a hitch? Like, how would you define a hitch? Because
I would drop, hip flex move, leg lift, rotate it out, engage this side muscle.
okay, but
So
do you have to lift? Like, it's all three of those things together.
To me, yes.
Okay, I can't separate those out.
Other styles, but not for what I want.
So now we've got into other styles, which might have very well been what I was thinking. But I'm like, okay, I'm thinking of a hitch in a different style. Now we've established that she's using this hitch from a particular style of shag, whereas I might have been thinking of a hitch from a different type of shag, and now we can communicate on which style maybe that's the actual disconnect, not actually the hitch.
Yeah. And taking lessons together is a good way to do that.
With video. Take video.
Always video yourself and your rehearsals. Because I can't tell you how many times I've gone back and watched the video and be like, I wasn't doing the thing that I was mad about. I was so mad that we weren't going in the right direction.
Yeah.
And here, I thought I was doing what I would, but I was messing you up because I wasn't doing the thing that felt like I was doing.
Yeah.
And I could see that from the video. So also have instant replay, like any good sports endeavor.
Yeah.
If you call a flag, stop the game, go to the video, and then you don't have to argue about it because you can see.
Well, I mean, sometimes that'll give you something else to argue about, but
True.
it's sometimes, like Julie said, a month later, like don't ever dig in too deep, because a month later you might find that you look at it on a different perspective and you realize that it's completely different than what you thought it was.
And if you just can't get on the same page, it's a good idea to say, let's put a pin on this and come back in a couple practices and we'll try it again.
Yeah.
Or what I like to do a lot is I will send the video of what we're doing to someone that I know, like Arnis or Steven or a coach that I know is very familiar with how my body works.
Yeah, like a virtual private
Yeah,
office.
and like what I need, and say like, why isn't this working? And a lot of times they could be like, well, you're doing this and he's doing this. Try and fix this, and then we can go back to practice. And then it's like, well, Steven said this, or Arnis said this, so let's try that.
Yeah.
And then it's not like us trying the blind leading the blind, because clearly what we're doing isn't working, and neither of us has figured out like what's causing it. So an outside, like a second opinion from someone that you feel confident in, knows how your body works, and has the skill set to assess.
Yeah.
Are there any other questions that are like really good questions? Like open-ended questions?
You know, I kind of feel it in the moment, being like, well, do you mean this? Do you mean this? Like, just trying to figure out what you mean.
And instead of using words, the more you can show.
Yeah.
Like, do you mean if I rotate like this? Like, when you mean circular, do you mean rotating on the foot circularly? Do you think, like, how far up the rib cage? Like, trying to play with that, like, physically. Or if I'm trying to explain something, my words aren't always great. So I'll be like, do this. And I'll be like, he'll become a guppy.
Yeah. And last thing, show up to practice with a plan.
Yes.
Maybe you don't have to, maybe both of you don't have to have, maybe one of you, maybe the other, but have a plan. Don't show up and just be like,
we should practice the
we
thing.
should do the thing. I don't know. What do you want to, I don't know. Let's dance a few songs and then call it a day. Like, show up. Here, there's one thing that I want to explore or that I want to do. And if the other person's like, hey, yo, my foot is like really hurting on that side, switch to the other side or find a different move. You don't have to feel attached to the plan, but have some direction or directive when you show up.
Yeah, and try and describe things how they feel, not like, you shouldn't do the thing. Like, this feels...
It's like...
this feels like I'm opening up too far. What can we do to prevent that?
Yeah.
Not, you're opening me up too far.
So Julia, it feels like, I just want to be really clear, I mean this, and I'm trying to be sincere about this, it feels like you're not following me.
When am I not, like, am I not following you up and down? Am I not following you more around?
Okay.
Am I late?
That's a really good point of clarification. I'm not sure. Tell me dance again and I'll pay attention to that, and let's see if we can figure it out together.
Yay! So I think practice rituals is a good point.
Yeah.
Like, I always get the most done over time when we have a good practice ritual.
Mm-hmm.
So like a warm-up activity to center our brains, either a warm-up dance, or like what I've been doing lately is I've been working my way through all of the famous jazz routines, like Trinky Doo, Trickeration, Big Apple. So I will learn a phrase of whichever jazz routine I'm working on is my first 15 minutes of practice. So it like gets my body warmed up, it gets my mind in the practice space and out of whatever's happening. And then from there, I have like a bullet point list.
Mm-hmm.
And usually we have it in a chat.
Yeah.
Like throughout, either from the previous day, we'll practice, like, oh, this is what we want to cover next time, so we'll throw it in the chat so we don't forget it.
Yeah.
Or at the beginning of the week, we'll be like, okay, we have this choreography deadline, we have this thing for teen, we have this thing for juniors, like we have this thing for our shag and this thing for our Lindy Hop. So we have to have a plan, so we check all of those things before we leave.
That was a crazy time. Okay, yes. Yes.
So, you know, come with the plan is an excellent, and then have a practice ritual so that your body is in the flow.
Mm-hmm.
And like when you walk through that door, you have like a Pavlovian response.
Right.
Like when you walk through the door, your body's like, I'm going into my ritual, and then you're gonna get more out of it. Not just like, oh, we should do some dancing.
I don't know, what do you want to do?
Let's put on a song and find out.
Okay. Hey, sometimes, I'll be honest though, sometimes that's what you need, but generally 90% of the time it's with a plan.
And you can always like let your partner know too. Like,
Yeah.
I don't feel well today. I just need to dance, or like I'm getting too much into the technical realm.
Mm-hmm.
We just need to do some playing around, or
Yeah.
like just work on aerials, or like not even do shag at all. Let's work on tango. Like, let's learn a different dance.
Yeah.
Cross train.
Yeah, something different.
Palette cleanser.
Yeah. Okay.
Feel free to email with questions or Facebook with questions. I don't check my email.
Yeah, and I don't Facebook, so.
So as you're playing with all these drills, here is just a note. This is the framework through which I follow all of these. So as he's leading and he connects to me, I'm going to spend the first few moments pretty neutral to feel out exactly what he's giving me before I start making any decisions about what I want to do with my body and how I'm going to follow. So immediately if they connect to me, I've already made some decisions. Where do they grab onto me? How hard do they grab onto me? Do they wait for the music? Like all of those things. I've already made a lot of decisions.
Do they hold instead of grab?
Let's not get off on a tangent here. I have some very interesting experiences with being asked to dance.
Yeah.
More like being hauled onto the dance floor by my ribs, but anyway. Side note. So once I've been connected to, I've already made most of my decisions, at least in how I want to connect. But in terms of which paradigm I'm going to use, I will typically know within the first 10 seconds of a song exactly how the rest of it's going to go. So whether I'm thinking of one or the other with my weight following, I am looking at it leading mostly 6-count moves. So if he immediately connects to me and starts leading all 6-count basics, all 6-count touch turns, all 6-count whatever, and then break, like 4-count break scenarios, then I immediately flip my brain into 6-count shag. And I just sit there unless I feel something very specific change. So I immediately say, okay, well this is going to be a 6-count dance. And so then I immediately turn my brain onto all of my 6-count stylings and ways that I can have fun in 6-count without using any of my brain power to look for the slows and quicks, or without tightening in my frame. So you'll see me do a lot of open stuff, a lot of variations, which is its own kind of fun. If I connect and I immediately feel that they are being very micro and they are starting to lead all sorts of things, not really patterns so much as, ideas, then I will immediately switch out of 6-count. I'm not even thinking of 6 count. I will switch into 2 counts, and I will just start running until I feel something different. So in 6 count, it's gonna be a lot of polyrhythmic stuff. So I'm not gonna pay attention to the music as much. I'm gonna look for the hits and the big moments, and I'm gonna accent those. If someone is leading every 2 steps for me, or like leading all my steps, not just patterns, then I immediately listen to the music very hard, because usually I can tell how they're listening to it, which line they're following, by which moves they're leading, and then I'll either play with that line or I'll play with a different one that's accenting that line. So I'll immediately switch into shuffling. So I'm gonna get smaller probably, or connect more harshly, so that I can follow all the little things. So I wasn't thinking of slow, quick at all. I immediately switched into feeling every little chord change and listening to the music, which wasn't bad, but just keep that in mind. You don't always need to be looking to follow every single detail, especially at the beginning. Feel out your partner. Are they dancing in a 6 count polyrhythmic paradigm, or are they leading every little thing? So I should just switch to a 2 count neutral, where I'm shuffling unless I feel my weight change acted on.
Oh,
You got things
I got things to say from the ladies' perspective. I mean, I'm sure you all know this already, but so if you go out shag dancing and you feel really comfortable with the music, and like, yeah, I'm gonna do all these crazy moves and stuff, like, and you ask the person, hey, you wanna dance shag? And they go, maybe just stick to the 6 count stuff.
Start with the 6 count, feel it out.
Yeah, be like really chill, and because you want to have them get a positive impression of dancing shag. Not that they're constantly behind and really like, oh, I can't do it, it's really, really hard. But like, you know, have fun with them and like do the basic stuff, but like enjoy, you know. That really helps a lot. The other thing I will say is that if, I guess I'm speaking from my own personal experience, that I have a very hard time dancing unless I'm dancing to the music. I have a hard time remembering patterns. Choreography is like pulling teeth for me. I gotta run it over and over and over again. So I'm not great at memorizing move bases. So I use the music to inspire me to do certain movements or do the memory recall for myself. The big weakness with that is if I don't know the music that is playing, I'm totally dead in the water. So I listen to a lot of shag music before I am ready to go out social dancing. Or if I know the bands that are going to be playing at an event, I will listen to their whole soundtrack, all the music that I hear from them that I can, just so I'm prepped.
Yeah, and that's why it's fun to dance with Nicholas for me, because it's not just a bunch of canned moves, which are also fun. Like there's something fun about all the different ways of dancing shag. So I'm not saying one is better than the others, but that's why I like this connection style, is because it makes every dance feel a lot more unique and a lot less predictable, which can be really fun. Sometimes a good old predictable dance is more fun because I'm tired, I don't want to be fancy, and I just want to do my thing, or I want to be super fancy, and if the lead isn't fancy, then I know what I have to play with, and I can be extra.
Yeah, that's actually one of my big weaknesses, is I really want to get like a strong canned move bass. Because sometimes, I mean, that's what you need.
Yeah.
It's definitely one of my weaknesses and something I'm working on.
So there's value in all of the different types of leading and all the different frameworks, but try not to limit yourself to only one, so that if you're dancing with someone else who is able to play in only one framework, you can connect with them where they're at, whether that is the lead or the follow. And I think that's the same for styles. Obviously have your home style, that's your style, but don't be elitist in terms of saying like, this is the style of shag, the other styles have no value. And so like, learn other styles of shag because they're super important. When I go to LA, I can connect with LA style shag dancers. When I go to Austin, I can connect with Austin style dancers. When I go to Europe, I can connect with European style dancers. And each one of those is better for my body and my style depending on the music and the partner. So I can adapt to something that's more groovy and chunky, and I want to dance LA shag most of the time because it's like very hitty and like fun, and something that's very like drifty and almost Balboa-y. It's weird to hit your college kids. If music is good, let it So, like, try and learn as many styles as you can, so that you have tools to connect to the music and to more partners.
Yeah. I think we set our pace on that.